Hello, family. Welcome back to JFK Today, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaea Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Just before we jump, JFK Today is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon at Janaea FK. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. Here is our overview. We're talking LA on fire, Zuck sucks, and Trump eats world. If my voice energy comes across as very somber, it is because it is. At the time of this recording, it is around 2 a.m. There are several massive fires that are raging across Los Angeles without any level of containment as of yet. 30,000 people are under evacuation orders, which includes several of my friends and their families who have evacuated and left their homes, hoping that they will not be reduced to ash and cinders when they go back. They've taken their pets, their children, themselves. They're shacking up with friends, with other family members. Some folks are on their way here. And I'm sad. And I am very unnerved. I'm angry. I'm a whole lot of things. And, this started as a very small fire in the Pacific Palisades in somebody's backyard. This was a tiny backyard fire. And it's now just turned into something massive. We've had between, 60 to 100 miles per hour wind. There are so many videos online of just cars abandoned mid-drive. Of incinerated homes, of trees on fire, animals fleeing. And this set of circumstances, right, is a combination of flash drought and extreme winds. And what we're going to see, and it's fascinating, right, this moment that we're in, because, of course, you have members of the right who deny climate change, right? Who push back against any kind of environmental protections, who demonize Los Angeles and Los Angeles County and really any coasts, anywhere that has any kind of, positions on trans people or abortion rights, et cetera, at a state level. Decrying this tragedy or even using it as a political moment, and all the while presenting this as normal weather parameters, right? Like as if these are under normal weather parameters. They're not. This is the result of gross negligence when it comes to things like climate change and climate catastrophe and the infrastructure necessary to keep people safe, right? We've got entire neighborhoods that are at a total loss. They're gone. There is not an ability to contain fires of this level when you have winds that are blowing the way that they are. When you have winds blowing, it stops the essential water dumping, for example, required for containment. And this is like truly horrible joke I'm about to say, but this is truly the worst example of earth, wind, and fire I've ever seen in my life. And what I've seen, though, it's really in this hellscape, there's been such incredible efforts by just regular everyday people to help. I've seen videos of people stopping to pull over just to pick up a stranger. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. Journalists and reporters risking their safety to keep us informed on what the hell is going on. If you are in the LA region and you want a really great source, and even if you're not, Watch Duty is a wonderful not-for-profit app that gives you updates about fires in real time, and I have been living on it, all night. And this is a moment where, we all have criticisms of legacy media. We have massive criticisms of legacy media, but you're not going to see podcast bros, right? The ones who are constantly attacking legacy media. You're not going to see them go to these zones and report on them because that's the job. The firefighters, just extraordinary work, especially those who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated. When society has turned, their backs on so many. Just there's, I'm so grateful and so moved. And if this isn't proof that California needs, and really just this country, the rest of the world, we need massive investment in emergency services, right? For these disasters. And where we're headed, right, is that despite the infrastructure, the critical infrastructure that we need, we're probably more likely to create some class of evacuations or emergency services that are only for the extremely wealthy. That's where we're at. This fire really brought home the need to take ownership, and I mean just really push on these local elections, because last year, LA City Council, right, this is an approved mayor's budget, cut $23 million from the LA Fire Department, right, amongst other things, animal services, right, those kinds of things. And why? Why did they do that? So they could give the LAPD a $138 million increase, right? And even though crime has decreased with fewer cops. So do you remember that line from the Titanic? Will lifeboats be seated according to class? Honestly, that lady deserved a karate chop in the neck right there. But that's where it is. That's where we're at. Right now, I can smell the smoke. I'm in a red flag area. I've got my bag packed. I got Sula's bag packed just in case, but I think we'll be fine. The winds are slated to die down sometime tomorrow, early afternoon. Thank goodness for the meteorologists, for public-funded resources and access to news and information. Do you remember last year on one of these episodes where we talked about the desire to privatize the weather app? There are people, billionaires and sharks out there who look at these moments and think, man, how do I capitalize on that? How do I slow down the reporting on these crises so that I can make the most money possible from it? How can I buy up huge swaths of land because I can see that I'm going to get it on the cheap, or they're going to be great for development later on. This is why these services, right, that I've named, the fire department, for example, whatever, these emergency services, these are federally funded services. These are publicly funded services. These are critical. And as we enter a stage, right, of life where there's going to be more and more natural disasters, things like more pandemics, right? And there will be, and we will get through them. We will get through them, but there will be these types of public funding and infrastructure are going to be more critical than ever before, and they are more under attack now than ever before. Hold on, I need to take my inhaler. Ugh, that's like smoke just like coming through. Hold on, y'all, my bad. I think I did that right in the mic, sorry. Oh, my little preemie lungs can't take it. Okay. So this is sort of where things are at. I'm now going to move into more of a traditional, type of show, knowing that this is in our hearts and my heart, on our minds. I just want everybody to be safe. That's it. I want safety for all of us. And that's all. The animals, the planet, the people, that's it. I'm just going to say this. We're 8 days in, and it's been a long fucking year. It's already been a long year. I'm over it. I'm over it. We're going to turn it around. like, how many puffs do I have left in this inhaler? All right. Here are other things. All right. We've got TikTok. I've been following this closely. Kevin O'Leary, the bald one on the Shark Tank. This guy is saying that he is nearing a deal to buy TikTok to prevent it from being banned in the US. So this is a very wealthy, very highly politically connected Republican. He's said that he's going to be looking to Donald Trump to help close this deal. Let's just be really clear, like really, really clear. This is all about controlling and forcibly controlling the content that regular everyday Americans consume. That's it. That's all. There's going to be especially a concerted push since there's a chance that Fox News will be a little bit less deranged once other members of the Murdoch family. That's another. We got to keep referencing these episodes from before. It's getting. I'm hearing myself do it, and it's getting annoying. But that's what we do. But the three regular Murdoch children that are slated to adult children that are slated to inherit Fox News want to right size, or it's unbelievable bias. Right? You can't eliminate bias, but you can right size it. And so maybe there's just like that is in part influencing the desire to control everything that we see. But even if that wasn't the case, they're already quite intent on doing that. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that with Meta. Fucking Zuckerberg, whatever. In the meantime, before we get there, have you noticed? I don't know this is the lunacy that we can expect from Donald Trump and just news media because of him moving forward, but he's been obsessed with this idea of American expansion. I don't know. You know how these things are? Somebody like mentioned it, some dork like Aiden Ross or something, and now he's obsessed with this idea, and he's talking about Canada, making Canada the 51st state, taking ownership of Greenland, taking over the Panama Canal. And here's my counteroffer for Canada, right? You're not going to make Canada the 51st state. Don't be stupid. But I believe that Canada should invite California and New York to join us. That's all I'm saying. I'm just like, that's my counter offer. Come through for the free healthcare. People are cuter. It is cold. It's true, but you could always go back. He's such a dork. And hold on, let me pull up this clip of, this is what I'm going to play is an actual press conference. So it's Donald Trump speaking to the press, and they're about to ask him about whether or not, essentially gauging how serious he is about this.
Let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now.
Anyway, whatever. He's such a dork. I'm not going to commit to that. This is this runaround thing. This is what we can expect moving forward. This is the thing I hate about this is there's nothing it's like cotton candy. It was there and then it's like in your mouth and then it's gone. And it just rots your brain. It's just brain rot. I am a little bit inarticulate right now, probably because of the air and, just the stress of everything that's going on. So, bear with me because I like to give you zingers and all that. But I felt like it was just so important to just be here and hold space together because I wasn't sure if there were some power outages, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get everything online, and I'm very grateful that I was able to. But here's one of my favorite things. So obviously, right, Poilievre, Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, so that's the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of the Liberal Party for now, Trudeau, who's intent on resigning, and then of course the leader of the NDP in Canada, Jagmeet Singh, heartthrob, right, and sensitive boy, Jagmeet Singh. He's a grown ass man, but he's so precious. Okay, so let me explain. This level of lunacy in Canadian politics is so unprecedented that I don't think Jugmeat even knows how to respond to it. Like he did, and he's so sweet. He's such a nice boy. He had no idea. Listen to Jugmeat's.
Donald Trump is acting more like an internet troll.
This is a shit talk
than a president of the United States. I don't think that's the way you act as a president, and it's certainly not the way you interact with other countries. But as I mentioned, I've dealt with bullies throughout my life.
Isn't that just such a sweet? He's a bully, and I've dealt with bullies all my life. And the funny thing is, in Canadian media, it's like Canada NDP leader strikes back at Trump's threats. Like, this is the softest strike back ever. This is like with the strength of a mouse fart in the wind. I still love it though. He's got broad shoulders, so it's fine.
And I know what it's like. Even if you're the smaller guy, even if you're outnumbered, you got to make it not worth the bullies' while. Bullies only understand strength. They only understand strength and pain.
I'm sorry. They only understand strength and pain. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting turn. Okay. That actually sounds kind of good. It sounds like they should understand those things. But I was like, okay, where's the pain angle going to go? Where's it going to go with this?
So you have to make sure you're standing up and showing that if you want to take that decision to fight with us, to pick a fight with us, it's going to hurt you too. And so I want to issue a challenge actually on your show today. For anyone that's running for prime minister, I've committed that Canada would respond with retaliatory tariffs.
Oh, with the Donald Trump is out here saying, I am not committing to not using the military to take over this country. I am not committing to that. And he's like, if you give us tariffs, we'll give you tariffs. This is such a nice boy. The pain angle that has nothing to do with it. He's like, if you're going to bully us, oh, then we're going to stand up.
If Trump imposes tariffs on Canada, we should respond with tariffs. That's how you respond to a bully. You got to respond with strength. So my challenge is for anyone else out there who's running to become prime minister, I want you to also commit so that Donald Trump knows that anyone in Canada who gets that position will respond with a tariff.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, okay, I think I need to run for prime minister of Canada. This is getting out of control.
Tariffs in kind, fighting fire with fire, showing that we're ready to stand up to a bully.
Yeah. So that's fighting fire with fire. That's what that looks like. And granted, I don't want anybody like Musk is all up in UK politics, as we talked about in yesterday's episode. Donald is out here trying to get rattle everybody's skin around him and everything else, talking about taking over the Panama Canal and taking over Greenland. I don't want actual leaders who do leadership things to get caught up in Trump's nonsense. But at the same time, get it together a little bit. That's all I'm saying. He's too nice. Anyway, in more annoying news, right? So I posted that yesterday's episode fairly late. I'm on a reverse schedule, at least until tomorrow. I'm trying to get on point. Obviously the fires got in the way of that. But so I'm sitting there and I get this notification on my phone from the New York Times at 5 a.m. saying that Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, Meta, Instagram, they're ending fact checking on the platform. And I needed to, obviously, it's the New York Times, so I was just, but I still needed to verify that information because I thought, no way. So here's Mark on Fox News yapping about it.
We're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X.
Similar to X. We're going to get rid of our fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X.
Starting in the US. We're going to get back to our roots. This is so disgusting, and it's so obvious and transparent. These particular moves. So you have to ask yourself, right? When we've asked, like, what do they stand to gain? And we know that it's money and this and that, but there's always something more. We'll get this, right? So now here we are. We're going to have fact checking gone across Facebook and Instagram. If you are still paying attention to Instagram or to Facebook for whatever reason, right? it's not a dead app as much as people want to say it is, but it is rife with people who still struggle with how to right click, which means they also struggle with understanding like AI generated content, disinformation. But the truth is that is quickly becoming true for most people, especially as AI's distribution models, news, its imagery, it's getting better. It's getting better at pretending. And so we already have this precedent on things like Facebook, right? And we know this. But think about the pandemic and how essential it was that there was some bar on how much disinformation could spread. Yes, it was rampant. Yes, it was right. But there were some checks and balances, and those things were vital. It's going to be so much worse the next time. It's going to be so much worse the next time. Think about the fact that we're likely to have somebody like RFK, who isn't like, oh, I care about making vaccines safe. He's like, no, I want to get rid of them, right? So the need for fact checking, the need for verified sources of information, the means of understanding how to identify what is fake news and what isn't, they're removing the infrastructure to do that. And they're doing it on purpose. Like, I just need to be very clear about that. So, because you got to ask yourself, why is Zuckerberg and Meta suddenly kissing the ring the way that they are? Well, there's an upcoming trial with Meta in April. So the FTC, right, the Federal Trade Commission, under Lena Khan, we had an episode on that girl. You know I love her. The FTC filed a suit against Meta, so Facebook and Instagram's parent company, in 2020 during, President-elect Trump's first administration. So the agency accused the tech giant of maintaining an illegal monopoly over personal social networking with its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp. This is why we need these antitrust laws. So the case is set to go to trial in April after a federal judge denied Meta's request for summary judgment. This is why Mark Zuckerberg is kissing the ring the way that he is, right? And I believe they were going to do this regardless on some level, but the extent to which he's on his knees, yeah, it's to get out of trouble. And for all the shitty parts of our government, and there's so many shitty parts, when the right people are in positions of power, good things happen, important things happen, and antitrust laws and the enforcement of them are just one of those things. We are getting strangled by monopolies. The monopolies that we're seeing in corporations, the monopolies that we're seeing around wealth accumulation. It's just, gosh darned it, do we need a revolution? Do you know what I mean? The accumulation of power that's happened in the last, just in the past decade, there is Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Elon Musk. Just those three alone have more wealth than like the bottom half of all of America. And there is a deeper concentration of ownership. So ownership of wealth, ownership of properties, of these massive umbrella corporations. There is more concentration of ownership amongst the rich now than there was in the Gilded Age, right? The Gilded Age. So we're in a position that is, well, we need to have some kind of electoral justice strategy moving forward, which is partly why we are here building out our brain trust. We're in the very nascent stages of that together. That's all of us together, all of us. And with the corruption and the erosion of legacy media, of the proliferation of everybody yapping. I'm a yappy chap too now. I'm one of these podcast little bros out here talking. But if we can create some resource and interventions, that we throw our own hat in the ring. It's vital. We need it. While I'm doing this, I'm frantically searching for the Lena Khan bookmark that I made because I'm like, where did it go? I had it open, so I'm going to refresh it. Yes. Like everything I said I wanted to say, but also I couldn't find it. I just found it. So let me just hit it right quick.
An economy where the decisions of a single company or
Sorry, this is Lena Khan, and she's discussing Meta's rollback on fact checking. I'm going to start that from the beginning. My apologies.
an economy where the decisions of a single company or a single executive are not having extraordinary impact
Doesn't she sound a little bit like AOC? I just heard that. Honest, maybe gangsters just kind of enunciate in a similar way.
on speech online. And I know that's a concern that we hear bipartisan members of Congress talk about. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. We, of course, have litigation ongoing. There's going to be a trial starting this spring, FTC versus Facebook, alleging that their prior acquisitions were illegal.
What do you think, though, of the relationship that we're seeing between big tech and the next administration? What do you make of
That's Donald Trump's administration coming in.
the meetings and pilgrimages with which we're seeing Mark Zuckerberg go to Mar-a-Lago, or we're seeing a Jeff Bezos or a Tim Cook? I mean, this is a very different kind of relationship than the administration, the Biden administration had, and specifically what you represented to the business community.
Listen, let me translate that question because it was a little long-winded. Why are the oligarchs, and like specifically the tech oligarchs, coming out of the woodwork to support this administration, Trump's administration, and this particular relationship? Musk's all up in that shit. Peter Thiel is all up in that shit, right? Xin Chong from the LA Times, Bezos from the Post, you got Mark Zuckerberg. All these billionaires are waxing poetic on their knees, all of them, right? So he's like, why? Why are they doing this right now?
So I approached my job with a focus on faithfully enforcing the law and making sure we were doing that across the economy without fear or favor. There has been, as you know, a lot of concern about dominant digital gatekeepers, again, on both sides of the aisle.
Whatever.
And even as we've seen the president-elect announce some of his future appointments, he's noted that he's making these appointments with a view that they're going to continue to maintain a tough line against some of these big technology companies.
Do you think they are, given the meetings that
They
we're
literally
seeing,
are
given
not.
the $1 million donation
I'm just like, no, of course they're not. What the?
to the inaugural? I mean, but on a very personal basis, there's only 8 business days left in your role. What do you make of that?
Well, look, I can't predict what future people in my position are going to do. It is true that the FTC has been very successful, including in its ongoing litigations against Amazon and Facebook. And so
that work was good.
it's only going to be natural that those companies are going to want to come in and see, can they get some type of sweetheart deal?
And that right there, do you know when you know something's going somewhere and you're waiting for the terms? I just didn't want to say sweetheart deal without Lena Khan, FTC chair Lena Khan, for the next 8 days say sweetheart deal, because it sounds like I just made it up. It's very February 14th, but that's what they want. They want that sweetheart deal. That's what Meta wants. That's what Zuckerberg wants. He wants to get out of all the trouble that they're in currently. They do not want all their assets broken up. They want to hold on. Look, you know what I'm doing right now? I just am Googling sweetheart deal because I'm like, where did that term come from? This is what happens. I knew I heard that term before. Okay, great. Because I was like, I've heard that term around sex work, and now I'm hearing it in a different way. But it's like, okay, a sweetheart deal or a sweetheart contract, this is outside of sex work. This is like what they're talking about here, right? Is a contractual agreement usually worked out in secret that greatly benefits some of the parties, while inappropriately disadvantaging other parties or the public at large. That's us. We're the other parties, and this is not a party. This is terrible. So he wants to get out of trouble. That's it. That's why all of these all of these losers are the same, right? Like, let's not forget about Amazon kissing the ring right now too. So Lena referenced the fact that they took on Amazon as well, right, as well as Facebook. But I just read something in the Rolling Stones today, right? Amazon and Bezos, like, so Amazon is like Prime is paying. They're going to pay $40 million for Melania Trump's vanity doc. Did you get that? $40 million to license a documentary and limited series about Melania Trump, right? Directed by Brett Ratner, is like super disgraced right now for being some sexual harassment allegations. What's she gonna do for a whole documentary? What's she gonna do? What does she do? As Northwest said, what does she do? Do you know, like, a film about Melania Trump will be about as riveting as sitting through a condo sales pitch at a Holiday Inn to score a free continental breakfast, right? But let's be real, her pastries are stale. There are so many things I would rather do, but it's about get the cash grab on every fundamental level. There is no desire for leadership across the GOP, across the right, in this administration. They don't want to lead. They don't want to govern. They don't want to empower, like, they don't want to better anything. They don't want to do anything except for make as much money as possible while they are here. Again, 3 people alone, Bezos, Musk, Zuck, they own more wealth than the bottom half of all of America, right? And for the record, it was Bernie Sanders who said that there's a greater concentration of ownership than at any other time since the Gilded Age. That's where we're at. I scoured the internet. I'm like, give me something good. Give me something good to tell the people. And I found some good news in Chicago, right? So Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration passed on applying for state funding for a city-owned grocery store, right? So he first raised this idea of a publicly owned grocery store in September 2023. So, and he framed it as a way to improve food access on the city's south and west side, right? This is where supermarket closures have left like a pretty sizable amount of people with limited access to fresh groceries in their neighborhoods. We have a term for that on the left. I know at least 95 of you listening. That's 95%, which is like food deserts. You're describing food deserts, and that's exactly it. So Chicago could be the first major U.S. city to open a publicly owned grocery store. And we've seen this idea sort of pick up elsewhere, in New York and Atlanta. And it's, again, another, demonstration that when the right people are in power, good things can happen, and good things do happen, right? So Sarah Saheb, the director of the Economic Security Project's Illinois affiliate, said this in a statement: as corporations have consolidated power, those monopolies that we're talking about, back to it. As corporations have consolidated power in almost every industry, including grocery store operations, they've put profits over people, leaving families with chronic diseases and shorter lifespans. She added that the state program, quote, gives municipalities the tools they need to create viable public options. So supermarket closings are rampant across the city's south and west sides, but this is true for a lot of areas in America, right? It impacts disastrously, the elderly, people who don't have cars. So city leaders throughout multiple mayoral administrations have struggled to address grocery store closings across the country, and in some cases have doled out public funds to bring in private grocers that later close stores in cities' underserved neighborhoods. And that's exactly it. When things are privately owned, if they're not hitting a profit margin that they want, they just fuck off. That doesn't happen with public funding. When monies get used in public fundings, and even if there are certain metrics that don't get met, that money still gets put for the public. It's still allocated to the public. Like I can't, like, the way that the GOP, the way that even people like Poilievre, right? This is the conservative leader in Quebec. The conservative leader in Canada. They'll talk about capitalism, right? And they'll name it. They'll discuss the problems that the social thing, the realities that ail are really countries across the West, right? That people's paychecks deserve to go towards where they need to, and people, their high cost of living needs to be addressed, and da-da-da-da-da. And so in order to address capitalism, they'll name socialism, right? They'll use socialism to address the issues of capitalism, but then say capitalism is the solution. It's wild to me, the cognitive dissonance. Anyway, this to me is good news. There are good things happening. There are important things happening, and we are going to stay on the pulse. It's about time to hit the VM for the voice note of the day. But just my heart is heavy and full at the same time, and I just have a lot of love for everyone out there who's impacted in any way by these fires, but also just the floods, the fucking bird flu. I don't know, all the horrible shit. We're not alone. You're not alone. Anyway, let me hit them VMs. What do we got?
Hi, Future. This is Jules. Every time I go into a queer's house, I notice a collection of jars. And the jars have labels, half-peeled labels, glue. They sometimes smell like tomato sauce. They never have caps. Why is this? Why do we all obsessively save all of the jars? Do you have any insight? Thanks. Love the show.
What a great question. Hold on, I gotta hit the inhaler again. Oh, the air quality here is such shit. This is so true. I'm so glad that we're all getting synced up as gremlins. This is true. I have boxes of jars here. I did not expect to be attacked by this question myself. It's true. I think it was like, because we're like, oh, it's about the carbon footprint and, limiting our waste. But there was a certain point where the jars became a flex for the queers. It was a flex. It was more of a flex than gene cutoffs. Like, we got serious about that shit. And there was a point where I was just like, I don't want to drink from your chipped lipped jars anymore. I got a little cut from one time. Sometimes they gotta go, but I can't seem to get rid of mine. So if anybody actually knows how to do that, because I have boxes of jars. Boxes. They are pretty jars, though, in my defense, because once I saw that, I was like, no, we got to get rid of the raggedy ones, because the raggedy, my favorite are the Bush queers, because they got the raggediest jars, and that's the one you're talking about with the stickers and all of that. You read us for filth. My hypothesis is that we care, and also it's our flex, like it's low key a flex, and maybe we need to get rid of them. But where do they go? Where do they go? Now that we have them, and I need them in my house because I've had them for so long. Okay, you know what? It's time to hit that outro music. I've lost the plot again. Here we go. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to JFK Today. It means the world to me. This show really is a labor of love. New episodes drop 5 times a week. We're available everywhere podcasts are. If you love the show, feel free to support us at Patreon.com/JanaeFK. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to JFK Today Show at gmail.com. Shout out to KR and Carolyn, and shout out to you, the listeners that make it all possible. Love you. Stay safe, for real. Peace.